Do y'all want to know why? Do y'all want to know why? The teacher didn't like my mom. Why she started all that shit between me and her? Let me know in the comments. Now, keep in mind, my mom never got into stuff. Sometimes she did on her own, but this particular incident was not all about my mom. As you know, my mom has a best friend. Her best friend's name is June. June. June has a lot to do with this story. June had came to my mom, and like this was like 20 years prior to this, because keep in mind in the story I told y'all that she held a grudge against my mom, and my mom told us that it was like a 20-year one, like back in the day, back in the day. So this is what my mom was telling us. After the incident happened at school, my mom sat me and Monique down, and she told us this is what happened between her and the teacher. Now, the teacher was one of those kind of people that was like snub-nosed. She liked money. She had money, but she had money from her husband. Keep in mind, I told y'all about June. But the teacher wasn't the only one that was bougie. June was also. June was the type that she was all like super light. June was super light, had red hair. All her life, her hair was either blonde or it was red. This teacher, she was also light-skinned, but she wasn't as light-skinned as June. But they had one thing in common, the teacher's husband. Now, keep in mind, June was dating this man and did not know that this was this woman's husband. So she kept dating him, but my mom never met her. But by my mom being her best friend, what do best friends do? They meet the people that their other best friend is dating. And this is what happened. June came over to our house. I don't know when. I can't remember. I don't know the incident. But apparently June came over to the house and wanted my mom to meet this guy. Now, if y'all wondering why I'm touching my face. So my mom got to meet the teacher's husband. But my mom or June didn't know that he was married. He knew, but my mom or June didn't. But June was into this man and he was spending his money on her. Now, keep in mind, y'all already know what kind of person June is because June don't give, like, no damn. She don't care that this man is married. Even after she found out about it, she still didn't give a damn long as he was paying her bills and long as he was doing for her. Because June was not no cheap bitch. She was ghetto, but she wasn't a cheap bitch. Now, keep in mind, my mom was like in the middle of this, but she didn't have anything to do with this. The secret meeting spot started to be our house. Now, June would drop her car off at our house, and her ride would come. She would be sitting on the porch with my mom, drinking Bombay with my mom, and the car would pull up, and she would get in the car, and she would leave. A couple hours later, she would come back, get her car, and she would go home. But at this moment, my mom and my dad was already broke up. It was a whole long story. We don't want to talk about that. But it came to a point where June had to use this man's car. Now, when she used this man's car, June didn't give a damn. He didn't give her no stipulations on where to go or where not to go. June and my mom was in this man's car. They pull up at BP. Now, BP by my mom's house is on Salem and Grand. My mom and June pull up. My mom goes into BP and so does June. But a car pulls up. And who was in the other car? The goddamn teacher. Oh my God, Jesus fixed it. Okay, so she sees her husband's car, but she's looking for her husband. She see my mom get into the passenger side. She don't see June. June's coming out of BP, walking to the car, but the lady is looking for her husband. Now she done walked up on the car and she done approached my mom and June. Well, unbeknownst to my mom gets in this man's car on the passenger side and the window is rolled down. This lady comes after my mom thinking that my mom is messing around with her damn husband. And it wasn't my mom, it was June. But June is coming out of the store, so she's looking at all this unfold. Now, keep in mind, my mom ain't no punk bitch, and neither is June. But the lady wasn't either. She had a cocky attitude just like them. So the argument started. June saw the woman when she walked up on the side of her husband's car. When she walked up on the side of her car, her and my mom start getting into it verbally. My mom pops out the car because my mom ain't going. My mom is not going. You're not going to stand over my mom. My mom is the type of person you can't stand behind her, on the side of her, in the front of her, and you damn sure not going to look down on her because Mary King ain't going. So she pops out the car. When my mom pops out the car, June start hurrying up and getting to the car. My mom and this woman accused my mom of cheating with her husband, but it wasn't my mom, it was June. June walks up and tells my mom, let me handle this. This don't got nothing to do with you. My mom steps to the side and she looks at June and June looks at her and June start going at it with the lady. But June is not hollering. June is not the type of person that's like loud. June will hurt your feelings and she'll be still real calm. Now keep in mind, I told y'all she drank Bombay. So you already know she was on some most scary shit. Okay, but anyway, the woman goes and tells June, this is my husband. June turns to her real cool like, no, bitch, this is our husband. Whatever you doing with him, I'm doing the same thing. This is our husband. Why are you mad? The lady like, you going to get out of my husband's car? Woo, 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 woo. June like, I'm not only am I not getting out this car, but I'm not going to keep arguing with you. Take that up with him and tell him that I need some money since you so into what's going on between me and him. June never backed down. This woman is so mad. Now, her attitude is similar to, not quite as bad as Mary King's or June's, but her attitude is up there. So she ain't taking no stuff from my mom or June. Now my mom got out like, June, hit this bitch. You know what I'm saying? June gets ready to walk up on her. The woman start walking back to her car. She like, I'm gonna handle this. Y'all bitches gonna get out of my husband's car. June like, I bet you I don't. And you can take it however you want it. Now, June's car was parked down at my mom's house. This woman wasn't leaving until she saw where this car was going. So when June and my mom got ready to leave, instead of coming to our house, they rode around the city dating, do what the fuck they wanted to do with this woman hot in their tail. See, June and my mom fed off of each other. So when they was riding around, this woman steadily was following them. But they were laughing and still having a sip while drinking. We ain't gonna talk about they was doing that, but it's okay. Okay, but anyway, they was riding around and they was still drinking. So that made June on level 120. And this lady is watching them drive her damn husband's car. This teacher was mad at me behind June. Okay, anyway, they decided to go get June's car. Somehow or another, the man came to my mom's house. When my mom and June pulled up, he was there. Either he had talked to his wife or he had no idea what was going on. But when the car pulled up, the man was already at our house. June and my mom pulled up, and a lady pulled up across the street. So the confrontation was getting ready to happen between her husband. Me and Monique was sitting on the porch when all this was playing out. Now, keep in mind, we didn't know what was going on. All we seen was the man's car, his other car, and another car pull up. My mom gets out in front of her house and she start walking up on the porch. When she start walking up on the porch, my mom is steadily mumbling something, but she cussing and stuff. It's going down. Mary King is in her zone. Okay, but June is still getting her purse and stuff out of the car. June still is like super calm. This lady pops out. She goes across the street and she is getting into it with her husband about June driving this car. Child.
If you don't know this lady from school,
hold on. How did I know? I didn't know that it was 20 years later. So when June get all her stuff out, she see the man arguing. June politely put her stuff on the porch and she sits in the porch chairs on my mom's porch and she's watching all this from across the street. Her and my mom now are sitting next to each other, but they more closer to where the steps and stuff is at. This woman noticed that June is up there having a drink and just as chill as she wanted to be. Because June still has like minus fucks because she don't give a damn. June is the type of person that she like, and what you gonna do? Because June don't mind fighting. She don't mind arguing. But what you not going to do is disrespect June. That's what you not going to do. So the ladies start stumping, coming to the house. Me and Monique still oblivious. This is 20 years. Hold on. I done got... This is 20 years before... 20 years before I met this teacher. So nobody looks alike. Keep in mind, me and Monique, this is 20 years. I still didn't identify the teacher, but she kept coming up to the house. June got up. out the chair and she walked down to the steps where the sidewalk was at. When she walked to the steps, her and the lady was face to face. And June still wasn't giving not minus zero fucks about what this lady was talking about. Behind the lady, here comes her husband. He see June and his wife getting ready to approach each other. He's trying to stop an altercation between the two. June still got like minus to no minus fucks for this lady because she still don't give a damn. The lady is calling June every name in the book. Soon as the man come across the street, June pushes past the lady as she takes her hand and she slaps him into 1999. The reason why June slapped him was because he thought he was going to come across that street and try to treat June like she was trailer trash or some stuff like this. But June wasn't going. So it wasn't one of those real long slaps. No, it wasn't one of those. It was one of those up close and personal slaps. One of those slaps that makes the thunder come in your eyes. One of those slaps that you looking around to see, did anybody see you got slapped? June slapped him and he straightened up. She told him, I don't care how you arguing with her. Get her from in front of my best friend's house right now. I'm not going to stop messing with you. You not going to stop messing with me. She just got to get her life in order. June was not having it. She walked in the lady's face and told the lady just like this, that's our husband. It ain't nothing you can do about it. Oh, I want to be June. I want to be June. Now the whole time, Mary King is right there above. She's like in front of my mom's house. She got the steps that come off the porch, a little sidewalk, and some 3 little steps that before you get to the sidewalk. My mom is standing on those 3 steps watching all this play out. June, like, I'm not playing with you. Get her from in front of here. The lady was so mad that it was nothing. I don't know what happened at that point with June and this man. All I know is June never complained about her bills. She never complained about her not having money because he was not the only one that June was messing around with. June was messing around with like a guy that was like maybe 30 years her senior. And at this time, June and my mom was like in their mid-40s. So June had to see, I understood why the teacher would have been mad because if it was my husband, I would have been mad too. But I think the champion out of this story was June because he chose to mess around with her. Regardless of if that was her husband or not, he knew he was married and he knew that he was messing around with June. So this teacher decided because me and Monique was never involved. She just seen us maybe in passing. But she was so vengeful that she still stalked me after I didn't have anything to do with this. Neither did Mary King. So she started this whole series about the teacher, and Mary King would have never happened if she hadn't focused on the right thing, which was June. I'm not going to take credit from my auntie because June, of course, did still, to this day, probably don't give like minus zero funds. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, June was always with the shits. June was with the shit. She didn't give a damn. So this teacher was wrong because she drew me into a situation that didn't have nothing to do with me. So I think out of this, the only thing I could get is that people can hold a grudge, but don't take it out on people that don't have nothing to do with it, girl. But, it is what it is. Out of this story, June still was number 1. Go, June.